not had one chance of anybody saying that this is an icon. And I have the pleasure of introducing that person today. I first knew about being Silly Boy. I used to go to church. There's a church right there on 13th and U called Welcome Memorial Baptist Church. And my parents, my mother would make us go to church every Sunday. But the highlight of leaving church was talking about being Silly Boy and getting a kosher asthma. But then, fast forward, about 20 years later, my son was murdered. And we held a press conference out there when my son was murdered. And one of the first people that was standing, it's on the front page of the Washington Post, and you'll see standing right next to me at that press conference, Mrs. Virginia Ali. Whenever my nonprofit needed an assistance with providing food for young people and to help us out, financial donations every now and then, we could go to Mrs. Virginia Ali, and we could go to Kamal Ali, and we could go to Nizam Ali, and they were always there. When our Rotary Club decided to do a project where we were doing with working with children and police doing focal groups, we went to Kamal Ali and said, "Come on, we need some help. We want to provide the police and children with the food." Kamal Ali and then Chili Bowl donated that. But now to Mrs. Ali, she doesn't need a resume. I mean, she has a resume up, but she doesn't need one. Her life works. Her life work is her resume. Mrs. Ali is known. She's known throughout this city. She's known by people in the Southeast. She's known by people in government. She's known by Congress people. As a matter of fact, she is like an ambassador for Washington, D.C. When people come to visit Washington, D.C., they will ask you, well, where's the monument? Where's the Capitol? And oh, by the way, where's Ben Street? And I would say that I can't tell you how much that I am pleased that I have the opportunity to be able to introduce this icon of our city and this icon representing us and the beautiful family that they have representing us. And I'm honored to have her speak before the Rotary Club. And so that I don't need to say anymore. Ms. Ali, are you there?
Well, good afternoon. That was quite an introduction. Thank you, Ken. It's a pleasure to be here today. And I'm just kind of blown away to be a part of this. It's wonderful. The Rotary Club has been around for zillions of years, and I know the work that you do, and so proud of that. And I don't know, I've been in Ben's Chili Bowl now for 63 and a half years. I was 24 when I started. Now I'm 88. And it's been quite an experience, having come to Washington in 1952 from Virginia. Of course, I went to segregated schools in Virginia, grew up in segregation, and I thought Washington would be a little different. It wasn't when I got here. It was as segregated as my hometown. But we had our own community there on U Street. And of course, we weren't going to the theaters or dinner or anything downtown, but we did have everything that we needed right there on our, what we called Black Broadway. It was the entertainment center for African Americans during that time. And my first job on arriving here was at an industrial bank. It's an African American family owned and operated bank now for 84 years. So we were able to understand the community. Howard University was a walking distance, and of course had been there for more than 100 years. So we had this really amazing, I think, but segregated community. The schools were very inferior, but we did live well during that time. With after Reconstruction, we had the businesses in the community that were predominantly African American. And we were very well, when I met my husband who came from Trinidad to matriculate at our universities, when we met and fell in love and wanted to be married, he was very hyper really about opening a little restaurant once he was not able to complete the dental program because of a serious injury. So when we talked about opening a little restaurant, we thought the ideal place would be somewhere near what we call Black Broadway, which is U Street. We looked for that kind of place. In the meantime, we're talking about what kind of restaurant. We want something that's not too complicated. We don't want a full service. We don't want to serve alcohol. We simply want something that can accommodate this very fabulous special chili recipe that he had. So we thought we'd go the old American way and put that chili on an American hot dog. And then we now have to find the ideal location. We looked, and we finally one day walked down U Street, and there was this wonderful building, a gentleman standing outside, and we said, "Do you know of any place that we could possibly lease to open a little restaurant?" He said, "Would you like to take a look at my place? Right here." It turned out to be an old silent movie theater called Minnehaha. He was operating it at that time as a pool hall, and he was the first African American detective in Washington. So we were able to lease that property and found all that we needed, the support that we needed right there in the community. Right, the architect, contractor, plumber, electrician, cabinet maker, everybody was right there in the community that served us for the duration of their career. So that was pretty easy. And then my husband and I when we opened, we found that there was this breakfast sausage out there that we thought would make a great sandwich. So it was called the half smoke. And we decided we could put that chili on the half smoke and make it delicious. So we did that. We just had a small menu, half smokes, chili dogs and burgers, shakes, coffee, tea, dessert of some kind, milkshakes, that kind of thing. And we were opening in a very bright, colorful place. We knew we wanted to be a part of the community. We knew we wanted to be there to support that community. And of course, we were very, very, very much into good service, a wonderful atmosphere, an environment that was friendly and home-like. So we were readily accepted by our community, and we were there during the civil rights movement. And around, we could hear about what's going on in Mississippi and what's going on in Alabama. In the meantime, Dr. Martin Luther King was coming to Washington because he wanted to meet with the president, and he wanted to talk about bringing a large group of people to Washington to bring the awareness to the world about the injustices of African Americans. He would come by the Chili Bowl on occasion because he did have a little satellite office 2 blocks away. So he'd come by and he'd sit with me for a while, and I get to listen to him talk about his dream and what America should look like. And he told me one interesting story. He said that President Kennedy, when they met with him and told him about the injustices, he said, President Kennedy said, "Well, we really want to help. We want to do all we can, but we don't think it's a good idea to bring a large number of people here in Washington." Why? Well, because if there's an incident, it will set your movement back. And Dr. King said there won't be an incident. And in 1963, he brought in 250,000 people showed up for that march. My husband and I were there in attendance. We had also prepared a few hundred sandwiches for people that had come by on the bus from Deep South or someplace, and we were able to help with that. But to be there, to see that sea of people, 250,000 people, all colors, all ages, all backgrounds, it was just very, very, very enlightening for me. And then to hear Dr. King give that "I Have a Dream" speech, we felt so inspired and so hopeful, and knowing now that change is going to come. It's got to come. This has been a fabulous day. Well, change did come in 1964. We passed the Civil Rights Bill. In 1965, we passed the Voting Rights Bill. So we thought we were making big progress. And of course, we are still today fighting for voting rights. But that was a memorable day for me. And after that, after Dr. King left, and everything was over, 5 years later, he's assassinated. And on that evening, I remember so vividly when someone runs into the chili bowl and says, Dr. King's been shot. Of course not. Not our beloved nonviolent leader. Can't be true. But it was true. People were coming in sobbing loudly, and everybody was in tears, and very, very, very sad. And finally, that sadness turned to frustration. The frustration turned to anger, and an uprising began that was devastating, really devastating. The mayor had to put in a curfew for 3 nights. My little Ben's Chili Bowl was the only place that was allowed to remain open during those 3 nights of curfew, which was very scary. But we survived that, and no one bothered the Chili Bowl. Um, but it was a difficult time, a very, very difficult time to see that beautiful community literally destroyed. And then a few years later, the drugs moved into the community, the heroin and the crack cocaine, and the neighborhood deteriorated and went downhill and really became a ghetto for quite some time. That was difficult to see and to watch. But there again, because Ben's Chili Bowl has always been one that welcomes everybody, treats people the way we like to be treated, and no one bothered the Chili Bowl. We had quite a bit of support from what was left of that community and from the entire Washington area. Then, 1988, the city finally decided to build a subway system. And when they built that subway, they did the survey, found only 3 businesses had survived in the immediate vicinity. Our bank, Industrial Bank, still there. Lee's Flower Shop, third and fourth generation operating that, is still there today. And Ben's Chili Bowl. Wasn't enough to support one lane of traffic on that big, beautiful black Broadway street called that was U Street. They simply dug up the entire street 65 feet down to build that subway. That was really, really, really difficult. I only had one employee during that time. My husband found something else to do because when the sun began to set, we went home because there were no street lights available. But when it opened in early 1992, I did have a big banner hung out front that said, "We survived Metro." And the media picked it up and they had a big ceremony, and all the new businesses began to move in. Beautiful townhouses couldn't go up fast enough where Children's Hospital used to be. The beautiful apartment building in the next block called the Ellington, and a fabulous condominium on 12th Street just behind us there. One condo was sold actually about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago now, $1.2 million. And that's where the drug traffic used to gather. So I've seen change in our community. It's now a thriving community with a lot of young, educated people moving in. So there's lots of energy, and I'm expecting to see big things happen from that. Then I realized that I have been there in the best of times, I think, for Washington in particular. We had I was there to witness the inauguration of an African American president of the United States. And President Obama, as president-elect, moved into Washington about 2 weeks before the inauguration. And when he moved into Washington, his first place to dine out was at Ben's Chili Bowl. And that was quite an honor for us. Actually, it was in the newspapers across the country. And so you can imagine what happened on Inauguration Day. We had lots of people coming from all over the country. So we're still there. Things are going well. I've also been there long enough to witness the inauguration of a young lady of color as vice president. And now we're going to have an African American Supreme Court justice. So I think I've lived in the best of times. That's been my little story. And I'm enjoying it very much. It's been, I have to say, the pandemic has been the worst experience of all of that, simply because it makes people sick and takes their lives, and you don't know when it's going to end, and you're very concerned about your team members who have little children at home, and some living with grandparents, and we also have just our guests to be concerned about and being safe. So when that was just starting back then, March 2020, we had more reservations for tourists than we'd ever had. And March 2021 was no different. All of that had to come to a complete halt. Our hours were from 7 a.m. in March 2020, 7 a.m. until 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. on Friday and Saturday nights. All of that came to a complete standstill. So we had quite a difficult time and an adjustment to make, but our support came from the community, from across the country. When people read that this was going on and that Ben's Chili Bowl was struggling and all of that, we began to get letters from all over the country and locally as well. Some as little as $25 money order to help, some 100, some 50, some 500, some 1,000. And we were able to take those funds and prepare box lunches for more than 5,000 people. We started serving it to the hospital staff at Howard University Hospital, and even at the hospital center. And of course, the police department, the fire department, we even served the National Guard when they were here the last time, and people began to send in funds to donate so that we could prepare and serve the group that they preferred to help. So we've been very, very fortunate and very blessed, and I'm very grateful to that wonderful community. And as I said, our motto has always been treat people the way you'd like to be treated. It's so easy to be kind to each other. It's just so easy. I don't know why we find it difficult.
This is Virginia Ellie. This is President Bill. I just want to say, such a pleasure personally for me to meet you. I'm actually a native Washingtonian, and your restaurant is so much at the heart of the spirit of Washington, D.C., the best of Washington, D.C. And rightfully so, President Obama made it the first place that he wanted to eat out at. You're just such a warm person. I just want to commend you for the service that you provided through your restaurant to the community. And it's wonderful to have you with us today as our speaker. I'm going to open it up to club members who may have any comments or questions. Pamela, I turn it back to you as the host.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Ali, thank you so much for that inspiring talk. We have many comments saying how inspiring that is and how much all of our members love your chili. I do see a question from Benjamin. He's unable to unmute himself, but he's wondering if you have or have plans for any plant-based chili, not just vegetarian, but plant-based chili.
Plant-based chili?
Our vegetarian chili is plant-based.
The vegetarian chili is plant-based.
Okay, all right.
Well, you have a vegetarian
Yeah,
chili, okay.
we do the vegetarian chili, which is plant-based, of course, and we do the turkey chili, and we do the beef chili.
And for the plant-based, we also have the burgers and the dog.
And we have veggie hot dogs, veggie burgers, along with veggie chili, and
That are all plant-based.
that's all of that's plant-based.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for that complete answer. And David, if you'd like to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes, what a wonderful talk. Miss Ali, I have a question. I was wondering what you think of Cincinnati style chili. And before you answer, can I please tell you that I was born there and that I'm still mourning the loss of my Bengals in the Super Bowl? So please be gentle in your answer.
You know, we were invited to Chicago a few years ago to compete in a chili contest on the Steve Harvey show just before he left Chicago. And so when my kids came to me with that, I'm like, no, I don't compete. I've been here all these years. I'm not competing. Oh, come on, Mom. Great trip to Chicago and it's Steve Harvey. So we went. I said, who are we competing against? They wouldn't tell me. So we went to Chicago and it was such a wonderful, wonderful experience. What's the name of the place?
Camp Washington.
Yeah, so we met the competition. Camp Washington, you know anything about them?
No.
From Cincinnati?
No, I don't.
Cincinnati has it's a big chili place and they have skylines. I mean, chili, they have the big places, but this was a family.
I know Skyline. I know
Yeah,
Skyline.
yeah, but this was this family-owned business that had been in business even longer than we had. And so it was a pleasure to meet them. And my sons have been up to visit them and they've been to Washington to visit the Chili Bowl. So we had this wonderful, wonderful competition, but Ben's Chili Bowl came home with the golden spatula.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
And
Well,
Cincinnati,
I'm gonna,
the chili over spaghetti.
yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm
Wow.
gonna put up in my, in the chat room, my favorite Skyline chili copycat recipe, if anybody ever wants to make some good Cincinnati style chili.
Place was
So-
called Camp Washington, as I
But
said.
obviously they'd be more interested in your chili recipe if you put that in the chat room now. That's
Or is
probably
that a
top
secret?
secret. That's probably as secret as the Coca-Cola recipe.
Okay, well, moving on, I guess we're not going to get that secret recipe. Donnie Shaw, if you'd like to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Another native
First-
Washingtonian.
Yeah, born and raised. I'm a son of a late Metropolitan Police officer. He was the first black sergeant for the police department coming up through the riots, and he used to eat at your place. Yes, and I want to thank Kenny Barnes for making this happen. Thank you, Kenny. Mrs. Ali, I watched you survive the wooden roads of U Street during the making of the metro.
True.
I actually work at the YMCA on the other side of you. And you and I have spent many years together out in the field, whether it was with Dorothy Height or Cora Mastersberry. I know you more than you know me. And your son has been, you guys have been a big supporter of the YMCA Anthony Bourne on W Street. You've watched us survive also. And here's my question, because when you said that unit next door to you went for $1.3 million, I'm a big advocate for buying real estate. I try to encourage young people to get their first home, their first piece of property. Do you believe that, could you agree that by you owning your property, it helped you survive the pandemic versus being a renter?
Owning our property was what made us survive everything. Owning the property, and we were very, very much into paying for it as soon as we could. As soon as we could. If we could make an extra $25 or $50 payment towards the principal when we made a payment for the mortgage, we did that. So we were very fortunate to be able to purchase that building. We couldn't purchase it right away because the seller wouldn't agree to sell it, but after a while, he did finally sell it to us. And actually, when you look back at the neighborhood deteriorating so much, we should have bought a lot of property there, but really had to sit on that property for 20 years after the 1968 riot. So we did not invest in it, but we did purchase that one. And then my boys had purchased the building next door. So yes, it was very beneficial to us to own the property.
Thank you for confirming the importance of buying real estate and buy it at the worst time.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give the floor to my fellow Rotarians. Thank you, Mrs. Ali.
Thank you.
Okay, well, moving right along, Kenny Barnes would like to ask a question. So Linda, who's with him, if you'd like to unmute yourself, go ahead.
Well, what I want to do, first of all, I have to thank Linda Solomon. She is like my personal Zoom host because I've had problems Well, Miss Ali, I just want to say to you, personally, on behalf of myself and my fellow Rotary Club members, what an honor it is having you come. And I thank you for accepting my invitation. And what an honor it is having you come. And I'm going to repeat this one more time. I don't know if anybody that's had a speaker to come speak before the Rotary Club that can truly say that speaker is an icon. And so I just want to say to my fellow Rotary Club members today, we had an icon speaking before us today. Thank you so very much, Ms. Ali.
Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you, Kenny. I think we all agree that we are in the presence of an icon. And Kenny, thank you for bringing this wonderful speaker. Mrs. Ali, I have a question for you myself. With all that you've seen over the years politically and the unrest that you talked about and the ups and downs, I'm just wondering, are you hopeful for the future based on what you're seeing today? Does this just seem like another blip, or what are your thoughts? Are you hopeful for our future?
Well, I'm 88 years old, and what I'm seeing today is unlike anything I've ever seen before. So I'm blessed that my sons have decided to come and join me in the business and continue the little chili bowl that we've had all these years, and they want to take them out of the DC area as well and put them in other communities and have that welcoming, warming experience for any community that you move into. You make sure that you have that kind of homeliness and warmth to invite people in for good food. For me, it's a little bit over my head what's happening today. We were very social people. Now I see people doing everything like we are today on Zoom. I would rather be there with you guys in one big room someplace, you know? So this is a little bit different for me. We were a very social people, and we would get together for a good meal, and we'd get together for meetings, get together to help others and go to church and things like that. So it's a little bit much for me, the future, but I have my daughter-in-law here who's younger and with the business and with my sons, and they think they're going to make this work because they're the younger people and they're accustomed to the high-tech everything and all of that. So I think it's going to be all right. The future is going to be all right. I think that people will have to get out there and do more in terms of helping each other, of being kind to each other, and of taking a part in the political process. You know, we had the strong leadership of nonviolence and all that, but these young people are coming out on their own merit and strength and integrity, and they're trying to make a difference. And I think we need more of that, and I'm so proud of them for doing so. So I think it's going to be okay for the future.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. We do have someone wanted to say something, but Mimi has a question. I think we have a couple minutes left. Mimi, why don't you go ahead and ask your question?
Yes, thank you. Mrs. Ali, thank you. You are really a jewel. And we really want to thank you for what you bring to us, your energy, your spirituality. And I wanted to ask you, if there is one advice that you want to give to those of us who are a little bit behind you age-wise, how do you manage to look so fantastic? And what should we do to look like you when we are at your stage in life?
Stay busy, help others, drink a lot of water. That's about it.
And tell me you eat chili dogs every day.
And when I was young, when we opened the Chili Bowl in 1958, and I was 24 years old, I don't know how many years that I ate a beef chili dog every single day. Sometimes I could barely wait for lunch. Well, you know, you get older, like 88 and all that kind of thing. You don't eat as much meat as you used to eat. So I cannot do it every day anymore, but I still have them. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
We are going to squeeze in one last question from Lisa Cohen. Lisa,
Oh.
mute yourself, please, and ask your question.
Hi,
so quickly.
Afternoon, Miss Ali. How are you doing today? It's great to
I'm
see
fine.
you.
Yes, thank you.
As you can see, I have our picture up right behind me. Um, you, I'm a benefactor of your good deeds that you do within the community. You allowed me to host my book signing at at Ben's Chili Bowl in the Obama booth. And it was a really successful day for me. And I just thank you for all that you do in the community. And you are living legacy.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you all so very much. I've enjoyed this. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
well, I am going to
So-
turn it back over to our president, Bill Dent.
Yes, Miss Virginia Ali, it's so wonderful to have you with us. And you too truly embody what we think of as the Rotary spirit. And we would like to honor you today in two ways. First, we have made you an honorary member of our club. You are an honorary member of the Rotary Club of Washington, D.C. And it would be wonderful to have you come when we're meeting in person so that we can be with you again. So it's a delight to have you as an honorary member. And we'll confirm that in writing in a letter to you very soon. Okay.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. And you truly, I would like to think, because you have such a community spirit, and that's what Rotary is so much about, that you at heart have always been a Rotarian. I used to say to our past president, Nancy Riker, you were always a Rotarian, but you didn't know it. But anyway, that's just a thing between me and Nancy. Secondly, we have a tradition of planting a tree in the honor of each of our speakers. So we will be planting a tree in your honor. We do this in partnership with the National Park Service.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yes. Some of the trees are cherry blossom trees, replacement trees down near the tidal basin. Others are trees to retreat our downtown parks like Farragut Square, Franklin Square. We will give you the actual GPS coordinates of your tree once it has been planted, and we'll invite you to the next tree planting ceremony,
Wow.
which will be sometime in the spring.
Well, thank you.
So-
Thank you so much. This is special. I'm feeling very special right about now.
Well, you are very special, and we absolutely enjoy this so much because you embody so much of the best of Washington, D.C. So thank you for being with us today. We really enjoyed it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Okay.